Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Plan Commission ARB for January 2nd. If you have electronic gadgets, please power them down at this point. We'll get started with the roll call.
Steve Lichtenfeld,
Here,
Carolyn Gatus,
Here.
Bridget McAndrew,
Here.
Bob Denlow,
here,
Helen DeFate,
Here.
Amy Waldman,
Here.
David Gibson.
here. Okay, we have minutes from the previous meeting, which I think was December 20th, not November. Are there any changes beyond that? No? Do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, thank you. We'll move on to new business. Item number 1, 7451 Bland Avenue. Is the applicant here? Thank you. Okay, Ryan.
The proposed plat includes the consolidation of 7449 and 7451 Bland Drive. The parcels are on the west side of the intersection of Bland and Northmore Drive. They are zoned R2 and developed a single-family home that resides on 7451 Bland. Its green porch and patio sit atop the property line separating the parcels. The remainder of 7449 Bland Drive is undeveloped. As a result of St. Louis County right-of-way expansions for Forest Park Parkway, 7449 Bland is a triangular shape and smaller than the minimum lot area for R2 districts. Consolidation of the parcels was approved by the Plan Commission in December of 2010 and Board of Aldermen in January of 2011. The consolidated plats were never filed with St. Louis County, resulting in the lots remaining separate. The lots are located in the Northmore Park Addition neighborhood, an enclave located between Forest Park Parkway and the city's boundary with University City. The neighborhood contains 6 parcels within the city of Clayton zoned R2. Other lots in the same neighborhood are in University City and are similar in size and configuration. To the west is the Wydown Forest neighborhood, which contains similar R2 lots, and to the south is Carswell, which contains larger R1 lots. The new lot would total 15,686 square feet, which is larger than R2 lots nearby, but would be more consistent with the required lot sizes for the R2 district. Staff are of the opinion that the proposed consolidation would have a minimal impact due to the existing home residing across the property line, and that the lot size would remain consistent with R2 lots in Clayton. Staff recommends that the Plan Commission recommend approval to the Board of Aldermen with the following conditions: that the applicant shall submit a signed and sealed plat that includes the following revisions to the signature block prior to the Board of Aldermen meeting. Where the document references the City Council, the document shall reference the Board of Aldermen. Where the document references the City of Maryland Heights, it shall reference the City of Clayton. And where the document identifies the signature of Anna Crane, it shall identify the signature of the mayor. And the applicant shall file a plat with the St. Louis County Recorder of Deeds Office and submit proof of filing to the city within 30 days of Board of Aldermen approval.
Okay, thank you. If the applicant could come up, identify yourself and add anything else you'd like.
No, my name is Sanford Talley. I'm the architectural designer and builder for this new home. The owner bought the property in 2018 with the express request that in 3 years, which is this year, she would build a house for her mother, which is what we're going to suggest she do with an ADU. So that's the reason for lot consolidation.
Okay, so you will not be replacing the existing home.
No, it'll be an addition.
Okay. And are you in agreement with the recommendations?
I am.
Okay, thank you. Kami, any comments?
No, I think it looks great.
Helen,
Nothing to add.
Bob,
Nothing.
Bridget,
No, nothing.
Carolyn,
Nothing to add.
David.
Comments or questions?
Looks good to all of us.
Thank you
So
very
let's
much.
see if we can vote on it.
Okay.
Okay, do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve with the staff notations.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, now that is to go to the Board of Aldermen.
Correct.
Okay,
Thank you.
you're welcome.
By the way, I think the owner is on Zoom. I don't know if you need to talk to her. but
Yes, Dawn.
Yes.
Kolfa,
Yes.
do you have any comments? Dawn? Good evening. Do you have any comments? No? Okay. Well, thank you very much. We'll move on to item 2, which is 833 Audubon Drive. I see the applicant is online, and we'll get started with the staff report.
The property is located at the northwest corner of the intersection of Audubon and York Drive. The property is zoned R2 and is developed with a 2-story single-family home. The property primarily faces Audubon with frontage along York, acting as a side yard. The applicant is seeking approval for fencing in the yard along York and fencing on the north side of the home for a trash enclosure. Both fences are proposed to be 4 feet tall. The trash enclosure would be a solid wood fence. Although visible from the street, it would not be located in a front yard. The fencing along York would comprise black aluminum in the form of vertical pickets with horizontal rails, similar to the neighbor across York. The fence would reside on the west property line, measure 9 feet from the southern property line, and measure 38 feet from the east property line. Properties on the west side of Audubon commonly experience dual frontage. Where screening is present, it takes the form of landscaping or fencing comprising wood or metal. As proposed, the new fence complies with the height and distance requirements for front yard fencing and complies with the architectural review guidelines. Staff recommend approval as submitted.
Okay, thank you. Scott, do you have any comments to make? Unmute. Thank you.
No comments at the moment. We hope it'll get approved as it's very similar to the house right across York from us in terms of how they fenced it in.
Okay, thank you. Kami?
When I did a quick drive-by, I noticed that there is like some shrubbery along York and that it runs along the sidewalk. Are you going to keep that?
Yes, we're going to put the fence inside the shrubbery, so the shrubbery will remain along the sidewalk and the fence will be inside of that.
The shrubbery will not be enclosed by the fence?
Right.
Okay. Yeah, I think it looks good, and I think it does match well with the neighborhood for corner lots.
Thank you.
Ellen?
I think it looks good. Nothing further.
Bob?
Nothing to add.
Bridget?
Nothing further.
Carolyn?
Nothing further.
David?
Nothing further.
I agree that both fences fit in just fine. Let's see, do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve with the staff comments.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. You're on your way, Scott.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
You're welcome. Well, we're moving right along. Let's move on to item 3, 8318 Kingsbury, and the applicants are here. Okay. Brian?
The property is located on the west side of the intersection of Lancaster and Kingsbury. The property is zoned R2 and is in the Clayton Gardens Urban Design District. The applicant is seeking approval for the construction of a pool, patio, and fence that encroaches into the front yard and for alternative compliance related to impervious coverage. The home primarily faces Kingsbury with frontage along Lancaster Drive, functioning as the side yard. The pool, fence, and patio would encroach into the front yard along Lancaster Drive. The pool equipment pad is proposed to be at the front yard setback. The proposed metal picket fence measures 4 feet in height and is set back 20 feet from the property line and roughly 34 feet from the street. As proposed, this meets the front yard height and material requirements. Corner properties in Clayton Gardens exhibited diverse approaches to corners, while front yard fences are less common. Retaining walls and extensive landscaping are prevalent. Staff believes that the proposed encroachments would have a minimal visual impact and maintain the open character of the Clayton Gardens neighborhood due to the open, low fence design and an extensive use of landscaping. The applicant is seeking approval of section 410.285 alternative compliance for the installation of Blue 60 pervious paver systems for the pool patio which are not recognized as pervious by the zoning code. Goals of the Clayton Gardens Urban Design District include limiting front entry garages, mitigating the impacts of large driveways, and addressing flooding concerns with stricter lot coverage limits. The property doesn't include any characteristics that meet the incentives for increased coverage and is therefore limited to 40% impervious coverage. The property exceeds 40% impervious, but aims to reorganize without surpassing its current 44.6% impervious coverage. The pavers would cover 711 square feet and have an advertised infiltration rate of 570 inches per hour. A strict application of the code would result in a lot coverage of 49%, whereas considering the pavers to be pervious would result in an impervious coverage of 44%. Per MSD 15-year 20-minute stormwater calculations, the site currently has a flow rate of 0.762 cubic feet squared. If the pavers were considered impervious, the flow rate would increase to 0.79. If they were considered pervious, the flow rate would decrease from 0.762 to 0.76. Staff are of the opinion that it would be acceptable to use the advertised infiltration rate and that this approach would mitigate some of the increased coverage while also recognizing that the function of the system is not completely pervious. New landscaping has been proposed surrounding the pool and patio. The species have not been identified but have been described as non-invasive local varieties. The use of these plantings will assist in screening the rear yard and provide some additional runoff mitigation. Staff recommends the species be selected to mitigate the additional 0.027 cubic foot squared runoff from the project. Staff's opinion is that the proposal aligns with the ARB guidelines, mitigates runoff, and meets the design district goals. Staff recommend approval with the following conditions. To ensure the future maintenance and operation of the pervious paver system, the applicant shall record a deed restriction identifying the location and maintenance details of the system with the St. Louis County Recorder of Deeds and provide proof of the recording with the building permit submission. And the exact type of species of landscaping shall be selected and provided with the building permit submission to ensure that a minimum screening requirements of mechanical equipment are met, that the species provide for treatment of water above the performance of the standard lawn areas, such as those of a rain garden.
Okay, thank you. Would the applicant like to come up, add anything?
Ethan Zachman, contractor. I think Ryan put that together pretty well. Obviously we got a little bit of work to do on the landscape side and get that cleaned up, but I think we can make that happen. Mary is the client.
Hi, I'm Mary. My husband David and I have been residents of Clayton since 1995. We returned to St. Louis after a brief stint in Boston. My husband was in the Harvard system getting his degree, final degree, and we actively chose to live in Clayton. We have two girls that have graduated from Clayton High School and WashU and have been residents for, 25 years, oh my gosh, my oldest is now 29. So we've been residents for 29 years. Love it here. My husband is still at WashU at Barnes Hospital. He's a cardiologist. He's still working. I recently retired. I have arthritis. It's one of the reasons that we bought the residence that we did in 2019. So I could have one level living. So having a pool in the backyard, my oasis, now that I'm retired, is our dream. And water aerobics to work out in the pool. For my husband, when he comes home from work, to be able to swim. And it's our level of relaxation. And so that has been our dream for many years. And we're hoping that you can all help us make it.
Okay, thank you. Amy?
Overall, I think the design looks really nice. I like how you did the screening with all the plantings and things like that. So really, we're just kind of talking about impervious coverage. And so just so I understand this. So right now, would be allowed for 40% under normal standards.
Yes, so the currently they don't get any of the incentives because they have a front entry garage.
Okay, and if they had gotten incentives, that would be 55% allowed?
If they had a rear entry garage, then they would be
Okay.
allowed to go to 55.
And then right now, as it stands, it's 44.6.
Yes,
Okay, so they're already over anyway. And then just with like the 3% impervious coverage, it would be total 49%.
correct, because right
Okay.
now we don't separate out permeous pavers to to limit the impervious coverage. So Ryan did a good job of outlining if we took our strict application of the code, how this proposal would fit,
Right.
but then also evaluated based on the specs from the manufacturer for their specific paver system, how that would fall into the stormwater runoff.
Right. Yeah, I think it was smart to include the 3% part of it to like figure out that calculation. I'm not opposed to it. I think you still fall below like the max allowed in that area.
Can she talk into the microphone?
I'm sorry. If when the house was built by the original owners, if they had taken a pool into account, maybe things would have been designed a little differently. But that wasn't part of their original plan, but part of our drain.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's okay. Yeah, my opinion.
Ellen?
I have a question about a note on SP 0.1. I can't read the first 3 letters. It is referring to a coating on the pool deck. It looks like something G or M.
That was a note, when we previously submitted this project, we had concrete shown and we were gonna install a cool deck concrete. And we have since changed that material to an impervious paver.
Okay, so that note would be scratched.
Correct.
Okay, no, because I wondered pervious pavers and then you're coating them kind of
Correct. Yeah.
defeats the purpose. Which paver system are you using? The full, the partial, or no infiltration?
Full infiltration.
The full. Okay.
3% with that.
Okay, because there is no indication of where it would drain to.
So that's part of our civil package, which will be part of our permit package, but we do have a rock garden designed on this project. I say rock, dry well for our stormwater mitigation that will tie in
Okay.
our deck drains and the downspouts for the house.
Okay, who is the civil engineer?
PhD group.
Okay. Those were my only questions. It looks neat. I wish I had it.
You can come over and swim.
Bob?
I think you solved the compliance issues, and it looks like it's a nice project. Enjoy swimming.
Bridget?
Yeah, I mean, I always get a little bit nervous, kind of messing with the impervious coverage in this area, because I know I'm sure as you know, waters continues to be a problem everywhere. I do appreciate, especially with the pavers, that you guys have thought to be creative. Just because this is not my area of expertise, but the plantings that are over kind of in the back part of the yard, so I guess what faces Lancaster, are a lot of those pretty water soaking up vegetation? I know that there's things that you can plant that are much better at capturing water runoff than other plantings.
Yes, and that is our intent. I am not the plant expert.
Okay.
We do have an in-house landscape architect that works for our firm that will help Mary select those plants, but that is the intent.
Okay. And I drove by today and I mean, there's not a lot of space back there, for a pool. I mean, I'm sure you've, I guess there's space enough for a pool that you're happy with. So, you're going to come pretty close to your next door neighbor but, I guess that's certainly up to you. So.
Yeah, and it's a little deceiving with the amount of stuff we're pulling off from our house. There is a patio and retaining wall there. That's all coming off,
Right.
and then the pool actually comes pretty close, so.
Okay.
It does look tight, but we've laid it out multiple times and,
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, it actually is some pretty usable space.
And I think, Kami brings up a good point, if you just didn't have that front facing garage, you would, it wouldn't necessarily be an issue. So, yeah, I'm, other than that, I just, water is just an issue we have to be careful about. So I'm, hopefully with the plantings and with your, dry well and stuff, that'll take care of it. So.
Carolyn?
Yeah, I have a couple questions. I am a landscape architect, so here we go. What fun. Cross-section of the impervious to pervious pavement becomes really questionable in our region due to clay soils and the cross-section of horizons and soils. I just want to make sure whatever substrate you put your pavers on will actually allow for water to go and filter into the soil, percolate. Because what I see time and time again is people doing, all right, we're doing pervious pavers, but with our soils, they put them on and literally it's like putting them right on concrete when you put them on clay soils. You hit the same thing when they go through the cracks and it runs off like it's concrete. If you do it right, which I'm hoping you're doing, it will actually infiltrate the soil much deeper. It would be good to see a real cross section. I know you had one, but
We can provide some additional details in our permits that show our true installation of that assembly, and then anywhere where it meets soil or meets the edge of the house, what those cross sections look like.
yeah, I think you need to have a little bit of a sand mix in there in order to, and then we get into another question for you as the owners. The joints, as you're walking through that, what are you tracking into the pool then? If you're doing it right, there really should be, it shouldn't be compacted. So is that going to become a problem with the filters? Is that going to become but that's, I mean, that, again, that's not up to ARB. I'm just pointing it out.
Yeah,
As-
I mean, we've installed similar systems like this around other
Okay.
pools, and it's, yeah, we have not seen issues of that type come up.
Okay. And then the other comment I had, hold on, I'm turning the page. The comment of local varieties of plants. I would rather it say native than local varieties. I don't even know what that means. I've never heard that term before. Local varieties could be things that are locally available in nurseries, but not necessarily native or species that are appropriate with deep roots of, the landscape for St. Louis, Missouri area. And I think with the comments that I've heard already in the back of, let's put something in there that can soak up some water, happy wet feet plants in the back. I think we need to make sure that they're native species. I don't know if we can change the language for that. And I'm sure you know what I mean by that.
Yeah, and that was our intent. I think it was some bad verbiage used, but yeah, native.
Okay.
Or plan to use, and then, also part of the recommendation is to provide our species with our permit application.
Great. Okay. Otherwise, yay. I want to live there. So, good luck with this. It looks beautiful. That's it.
David?
I don't really have anything to add. As far as the native species, I would recommend we just add that as a condition on here to be clear, rather than trying to strike it from the notes.
Well, being familiar with that house, I think this will be a good addition. It's a tricky site to work with. And I do agree with Carolyn about making sure that the underlayment below the pavers are sufficient to allow complete water penetration through it. Otherwise, I think it looks quite good.
Can I just ask one more question?
Sure.
Anna, this is maybe more for, like, do you feel like our inspectors are starting to see more permeable pavers and can recognize when something's being installed correctly versus incorrectly? I just feel like this is a newer technology, or at least, So I was just wondering, like, as we go out and make sure things are installed, you know what I'm, so.
Right, yeah, we haven't changed some of our inspection requirements to address all that yet, but they'll provide the spec package. So our inspectors will be able to see kind of the details of how it's supposed to be put together. The other item that they mentioned is the dry well system. So that was something that was in some of the earlier civil packages that they provided to us, but they made some changes. So if they're still planning to do a dry well system, that will also alleviate a lot of these concerns because the actual, gaps between the pavers won't have to operate as much to support the infiltration if they're collecting a good portion of runoff from part of their patio and then also from rooftops of their existing home. That offset into a dry well system is probably going to function a little bit better than the 3% pervious that you're going to get out of the paver system anyway. So that also does even better to alleviate additional concerns.
Thanks.
That's good for this one. But I know in the past, we've had folks come to us and say, well, we're installing a permeable pavement system and Clayton has not approved that in the past. So we want to make sure that what we accept down the road here covers all of that because we don't want it to come back and bite us. I'm just worried. I'm not worried about this project. I think they're fine. But what I'm saying is, even if the water is contained on site with this project, regardless of the pavers, the paving system still needs to be recognized as it needs to be well designed. It needs to be known how to do this kind of pavement process. I don't think people know how to do that in St. Louis. I think basically they put it on there and they say, okay, we've solved something, whereas they have not. I'm probably preaching to the choir here, but I'm just saying that it's not a part of this project, but I think going forward with projects in Clayton, we can't say this one gets away with pervious pavement and the next one doesn't. So we need to be careful.
Okay, anything else, Carolyn?
Nope.
Okay, thank you. I had one other question, comment. And this project seems to be doable and meet the intent of the code and regulation, even though it does not meet the wording of the code and regulations. And I think we have to have a little judgment in it. And with that, I think the staff recommendation is right on target and we need to go with it. I'm fully supportive of it. You've heard the comments about the permeability, and you do understand the two recommendations that have been put in there. And by the city manager, we will include a third recommendation for the native species. Okay? Do we have a motion? Oh, excuse me, before that. Any comments from anyone online? Raise your hand if so. No? Okay, let's go on. Do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve with the two staff recommendations. On number 2, I think we could just alter that to say the exact type and species of landscape shall be selected from native planting lists and provided with the building permit and such.
Second.
All in favor?
I
Opposed? Okay,
Thank
very
you.
good. When will it be started?
Get a permit.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming in. Okay. That was one of our shortest meetings, but is that you, Story? It is. Well, welcome tonight. We haven't seen you for a while, but we're glad you could come. It was a short meeting and I see you took some notes. Good. Do you have any comments you'd like to make? Sure. Come on up to the microphone.
I say my name and address like everybody else does in these meetings?
If you'd like to.
Okay.
Yes, please.
I'm Story Coomer. I go to John Burroughs School. I'm a junior and I live on 225 Winden. What are pervious pavers and impervious coverage?
Okay, well, pervious pavers allow a certain amount of water to go through. Impervious means no water will go through. Is that simple enough? Okay,
That's it. Thank you.
you're welcome.
Well, actually, hold on. Hold
Uh-oh.
on. The actual pavers themselves don't allow water. Okay, it's the joints between. So you don't have pavers that allow water to go through the paver itself. Like say you have a brick paver. The water does not infiltrate through there. It goes through the joints. So what we're looking for it, for sustainability wise is a landscape where water can go into the ground, get filtered through a sand system underneath those pavers to cleanse it before it goes into the overall system to make it healthier for everyone.
And this is all important because a lot of areas face stormwater issues, which means that in periods of really heavy rain or a lot of rain, over a period of time and the ground becomes saturated, then there might be flash flooding. There could be backups, with our storm sewer, system. And so the government tries to prevent that from happening by controlling stormwater as much as it can. And so that's why a lot of city governments regulate how much impervious coverage you can have of a lot, because they don't want a completely paved lot. They want some green space in order to absorb some of that stormwater to lessen the possibility of flash flooding and that kind of thing. And so that's why there's a lot of discussion, and that's why this is so important to talk about impervious coverage versus pervious coverage, so that we don't make the situation with possible flooding even worse than it already is.
Right, and that's why plants that are native to that region with deep roots who can soak up a lot of water are very important for the environment. Trees can soak up 10,000 gallons of water a day if they're given the shot, if they're native. And imagine minusing and not having that tree there, what that means for a flash flood. So if you look at New Orleans, when it got hit by Katrina, the live oak trees, do a little Google search on that. The live oak trees hung together by their roots and held together the landscape and the soil there. Everything else went away and washed away, but they survived. And it's because they had a system intact. And I think you would like to, research that if you're a student. So it's actually very cool. And they're still standing today, all those trees.
Very cool. Thank you.
I can't stop being a teacher, guys. Sorry.
Carolyn, now I have a question.
Sure.
Are there any pavers that actually have some openings in them that would allow water to penetrate through the paver as well as through the joints?
Well, every so often I read about
Oops.
pervious streets
Yes, that's
coming.
what I'm
Yeah,
thinking.
no, there's grass pavers, which if you go to Mobot, it's in their parking lot, and they basically are sand. Now they have not gotten any plants to grow there because of compaction. Again, coming back to my comment, if Mobot can't make it work, how can we? But there is pervious concrete and asphalt. Some of it has been tested in Chicago in freeze thaw areas, and it has been successful. It is not viewed in a popular vote here yet. But yes, there is. To answer your question, it's just a matter of getting people to buy in on it. Think about the plows. We don't have really that issue here anymore. And unfortunately, I'm sad about that because we don't get snow. I love snow, but there's no plows going over this stuff, over asphalt and over our streets anymore so much. So why not use it, right?
Well, we'll probably see more of it then.
I think so. I
Yeah.
think you're right. I think, yeah, I mean, it's not perfected, but yeah, it's out there. But as far as pavers, block pavers, no. It's the joints where everything goes into. All the water goes around the paver itself. So,
Okay. Thanks, Carolyn.
sure.
Okay, Kami, any further comments?
No comments.
Ellen,
No comments.
Bob,
All I can say is I thought we were gonna break the record for shortest meeting, but this darn John Burrows student got up and asked that question. It's nice having you here.
Bridget,
No comment.
Carolyn.
Yeah. Well, I like her. Give her my number. I would love to talk to her. I would like to talk to her more. So, Happy New Year, everyone.
You too.
Thank you. Same to you. David,
Nothing else tonight.
Brian,
Nothing else.
Anna.
Sure. I'll just give a plug to the Stormwater Center at University of New Hampshire. If you want to see some good videos of testing pervious asphalt pavement in snow conditions. But
Yay. love
beyond
that.
stormwater, just a quick reminder that we do have that meeting on January 26th, the joint meeting with the Board of Aldermen and our comprehensive plan consultants, to kind of really kick off the final phase of planning for that. So Ryan sent out the calendar invite that has Zoom, or you can join us in person here.
Okay, thank you. Stephanie,
Nothing further this evening. Thank you.
thank you for the legal description. I think we appreciate that. Okay, well, thank you, everyone. We'll see you on Tuesday, the 16th. And thank you for letting me save my voice. So
Can I just ask this? Do we have a schedule of all the meetings for the whole year? Have you
Yeah.
sent that out already?
it's online.
It's online. Okay.
It's on, we can, we'll send an email.
I know every time you've always emailed us a schedule of the dates and I kind of put them in the calendar, so I have it blocked out.
Yep, and because our this month was kind of a funky one because we also moved the following, I can't remember the date right now. Martin Luther King Day is on Monday, so our next meeting is also on a Tuesday. So it truly is 2 weeks from today.
And that'll happen again in February, only for the second meeting. I
Right.
think.
Yes. So the schedule that we'll email you has all of the shifted holidays and other dates. Yes.
Okay. We're adjourned. See
Thank
you
you.
in 2 weeks.